The mission statement for the San Mateo Foster City School District includes the charge to teach in a way that our students are prepared to positively impact a dynamic and diverse world as they become critical thinkers who take responsible risks in their learning. This presentation is my synthesis of understanding after more than 30 years in the classroom or district office, taking risks to move forward in student understanding and achievement. My name is Beth Luttrell, and I'm the coordinator of California Teacher Induction in the San Mateo Foster City School District. A saying commonly ascribed to Albert Einstein is, "The only way to avoid making mistakes is to have no new ideas. Without risk-taking, think about what we would be missing." Risk-taking, though, needs to be safe cognitively, physically, and emotionally. The norms you set as a classroom teacher help to create a culture of creativity and acceptance. Dr. Carol Dweck, the author of Mindsets, addresses some of this. In her work, students were given tasks to do, and in one group were told, "You did that very well, you must be smart." Another group that significantly outperformed the smart group was told, "You did that very well, you must be working hard." When asked if they wanted to tackle a simple or complex task, the growth mindset students, the ones praised for hard work instead of intelligence, were much more willing to take a risk on complex problems. If they failed, they knew they could work harder and accomplish increasing levels of success. In the next segment, Dr. Joe Boler from the Stanford Graduate School of Education talks about the important role of taking risks and making mistakes in order to become mathematically successful.
I was really stunned last year in a teacher workshop I was running when Carol Dweck had given up some time to join us, and she said many things that were very helpful, and we'll hear from her in this lesson, but one of them was, every time students make a mistake in maths, they grow a new synapse. And that really hit me as very important. So what we're finding from research is that when students make a mistake, and I'm thinking of this as a kind of core mistake, not an error such as a numerical slip, but when they make a mistake about an idea in maths, two sparks happen. First when they make the mistake, and then again when they think about the mistake. And that brain growth that comes from those sparks in the brain doesn't happen when people get work correct. So this was stunning to me. And the reason is, it turns out that making mistakes is the most useful thing to be doing. The very most useful thing in maths. But students often feel really bad, crushed even, if they make a mistake in maths. They think it means that they're not a maths person. But it turns out it's really the most useful thing they can be doing. Jason Moser and his colleagues published an article in Psychological Science, which are putting in the references, and they reported the evidence of significant brain changes when students make a mistake. They also found that the brain growth that happens was different, greater in growth mindset individuals than in fixed mindset individuals. So again, the greater response of the growth mindset people and the brain growth they showed that they were more aware of mistakes with a greater reaction and greater accuracy afterwards. It's really amazing, and that paper's in the reference section. So that evidence points to two things for me. The new science of the brain showing us that brains actually change when people make a mistake. And again, the importance of a growth mindset, as it was the growth mindset people's brains who grew the most.
Jim Delisle wrote an article for parents of gifted students titled "Risk-Taking and Risk-Making: Understanding When Less Than Perfection is More Than Acceptable." Let me read from that article. Remember the last time you ventured out in a totally new direction, unencumbered by anyone's expectations but your own, an individual goal focused on learning or becoming something or someone new? Usually, whether you succeeded to your satisfaction or not, you probably gave yourself a pat on the back for even putting forth the effort. Conversely, do you recall a time when someone else, a teacher, a parent, a friend, prodded you to try something that you might not have attempted without their external urging? What happened when you succeeded or failed? Who was the person you thought might be pleased or disappointed? Delisle advocates that adults explain to children the distinctions between risk-taking and risk-making. In risk-taking, someone is often pushing you to accept a risk or a challenge. Wouldn't you like to learn how to ski so that you can join the rest of us on the winter weekends? Well, these are usually items that were not on your personal agenda. On the other hand, in risk-making, you're the person initiating the idea and doing the pulling. I really want to learn how to ski. We're encouraging students to make risks for themselves, to find areas of interest that they want to pursue, and then to follow through in pursuing them. Dr. Sandra Kaplan from the University of Southern California suggests that one way to build this intrinsic drive to learn new things is to dabble in them. Dabbling is a superficial or intermittent interest, investigation, or experiment where students record many ideas that they would like to look at superficially. But it's not enough to stay at the superficial level. Students then move beyond dabbling and develop a few interests through practice and study from many and varied sources and considered from multiple perspectives. This is the kind of cognitive risk-making we need to encourage, and by doing this, students will find one or two topics of great interest that will be developed into areas of expertise. With dabbling, we can ignite curiosity by brainstorming many ideas in hopes of having a good one. A teacher is a significant adult in a student's life, and if we want our students to tackle challenges where they might make a mistake, we have to model risk-taking as well as articulating those times when you are initiating the challenge or making the risk. Ever mindful that the risk must be physically, cognitively, and emotionally safe. We are not advocating irresponsible risks. Risk-making has to be accompanied with a determination to develop a growth mindset. If you consciously enter a new endeavor knowing that mistakes are going to be made, then you embrace and learn from those mistakes. Your brain will grow, and so will your confidence. When we think of Thomas Edison, we think of his successes in the advancement of telegraphs, light bulbs, recorded sound, electric power distribution. He even came up with a prototype that was eventually the ditto machine and then the copier printer a century later. Edison was very successful, but only because he embraced learning, took responsible risks, and chose not to fear mistakes. Let's think about some of his quotes. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. We often miss an opportunity because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Or many of life's failures are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they gave up. I'm asking you to consider these points. It's important to accept challenges and to initiate your own challenges, then persevere in mastering them. When you take risks, you will make mistakes. But mistakes are an important part of learning because that's where synapses form. And if you want your students to exhibit these qualities, you have to practice them yourself. And remember, the only sure way to avoid making mistakes is to have no new ideas. Please email me if you have any questions.